Namaskaram, welcome back everybody, and today here we are with our this week's podcast. And guess what? We have our guest all the way from Canada once again, and on by the way on demand. Some of my subscribers they wanted him to be in the show back, and they wanted to know more about him. So here we are. Tanvir, welcome to the show. It's over to you, brother.
Thank you, man. Namaskaram. Thank you for having me back, and I'm excited to share, man. Excited to share my journey. I know you had some things that you wanted to touch a little bit deeper on, and happy to dive in.
Awesome. So, those who probably they have gone through the last episode, so they know you who you are. It's just for the new listeners. Could you please briefly introduce yourself?
Yes. So I'm 29 years old. I'm from Toronto, Canada. I am working at a sales job right now. I work as a part-time coach as well, life coach, and I've been doing personal development for a little over say 7, 8 years up until when I was about 21, 22. That's when I jumped on personal development. While doing personal development or being interested in it, I came across a man named Sadhguru, who was somebody who played a pivotal role in the turning point in my life. I was somebody who was battling mental health challenges, going through something called bipolar disorder, and I found using certain tools that were offered through the foundation, through the Isha Foundation, I found it to be really helpful and supportive in bringing me back to a place of stability and clarity, and also mentors and coaches and some wonderful people that I met along the way as well, which were also very crucial in my healing journey. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now, and yeah, I'd love to share more as you continue to ask different questions.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, you already touched about it. You said you've been going through bipolar. So, would you be able to explain that what led to the situation? Then you end up having that symptoms. What was the main reason? And yeah, if you could give us more a little bit about it.
Yeah, great question, man. I think that was something. So when I was 19, I went out I went out for a weekend with my friends to a place a few hours away, Niagara Falls. It's a pretty popular place in Canada, specifically Toronto. So we went
Mm-hmm.
out, and this was the first time that I was really outside of my home without my family. Really felt this sense of freedom that I was on my own now. Because I prior to this, I wasn't going out much. I'd go to like parties with my friends locally, but this was the first time that I was like away from the house for a few days. And so,
Independent, eh?
correct, yes, it was like a feeling of I'm making my own decisions. I'm calling the shots for at least for this weekend for myself. And
Mm-hmm.
when I was there, I ended up having quite a bit to smoke weed. So I smoked quite a bit of weed, and then from there, I felt like there was something that happened where I lost control of. I just lost control. My mind started racing. I had started having these ideas, and
All right.
it felt like for me, I tapped into something beyond what I was presently available to, like a part of the mind. That's what it felt like, but it was very ungrounded, very unstable, and so it felt great in the moment. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't sleep that night, nor did I sleep for 3 weeks or a month after that straight. I didn't have even 1 minute of sleep for 4 weeks in this state, and
Really?
yeah, it took some time for the people around me to convince me that there was something wrong, that something needed to be checked out.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually, like, we went to the doctor, went to the psychiatrist, and he was the one who told me that the symptoms that he's presenting, because my parents were witness to all the symptoms that I was going through at home. They
You're right.
seen that I wasn't able to sleep. They seen that I was just overly
Mm-hmm.
excited and ungrounded about things that previously I had no interest in. Like I was just all over the place pretty much. So when I went to the doctor, they gave me diagnosis bipolar because they showed these are the symptoms. He's having a manic episode, and so from there I was put on medications,
Okay.
and I was probably like sleeping like 12, 14 hours a day, just numbed out from the medication. and
Extra dosage, right?
after, correct, yeah, yeah, quite a bit. And then from there, I was trying to get off the medication because we were seeing that maybe, it's not something that I need to take anymore because I felt some sort of like the symptoms of that experience subsided. So I thought, okay, maybe now I don't need to take these symptoms anymore,
All right.
and I don't need to take the medication anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so once I got off, then the episode happened again about a month or 2 months after that. And then from there, I was just on medications for quite a long time, and the mainstream approach never really gave any guidance, proper guidance as to what's the cause or how can you actually get to the root of this problem. There's nothing in that there was nothing like that in the conversations that I was having with the psychiatrist. And so that led me to do my own search, my own research, my own finding out what I could find out from the internet, from
Mm-hmm.
different people I spoke with, and that's when I found some ways to help me get over that.
Yeah, I mean, I want to ask you a follow-up question. So while everything was happening, like you were in the medication, you're taking, I mean, counseling you were counseling with the psychiatrist. So meanwhile, were you also into smoking again, or like you're just absolutely on medication under the supervision of family, or how like the situation was?
No, so from there I was not. That was the reason I actually stopped smoking. So that was the last time I smoked. That was when I was 19.
Okay.
So I didn't smoke after that. Partly because of the fear that something like that can be triggered again. Initially, but now it's like I have no interest in smoking. So it's a different reason now. Uh, and same thing with I used to drink quite a bit as well. I stopped drinking after I had these episodes. So yeah, no, I was doing what the doctors had said. I was following the guidelines. But at the same time, like I said, the doctors, they never had a way for me to overcome this issue. It felt like what they were telling me was just ways to cope and deal with the
Yeah,
problem.
cope with the situation, right? It's a kind of a like you're getting into the situation and you don't know how to like move out from that thing. It's a kind of a domino effect which is happening over the period of time, and it happens in a repetition, I guess, right? So you said like the symptoms were coming back again and again. So like you became really too much excited. Like how the situation was, if you can recall, perhaps.
Yeah, just like I said, very ungrounded. It felt like
Mm-hmm.
I would obsess over certain ideas. I felt like I was able to access a different part of my mind more.
Were you aggressive
Not
though?
really, no. No,
Oh, okay.
no.
Okay.
So I was more outgoing. I was more confident. It was very different than how I was before.
Mm-hmm.
Because prior to that, I was very quiet, really reserved, and kept to myself. So when this episode happened, I was like all of a sudden this new person, and even like speaking to women, and just became a lot easier when I was in the state because I felt like I wasn't constantly like just I was. It's like I would just say everything I was thinking, and I was just more out there as opposed to just holding myself back. So that's part of the freedom that I enjoyed with that as well because I felt like for all these years prior, I felt like I had put myself in this box or this I had had this identity of being a shy, quiet person. And
Yeah.
then this experience sort of opened me up and showed me, okay, this is maybe this is my breakthrough that I'm having, or maybe some
Mm-hmm.
stage in my growth. So I was trying to understand why the symptoms happened, why the episode happened, but what I personally think it was is that based on the circumstances that I was living in at home, I think
Mm-hmm.
that was one of the major players as the cause of why I was the way I was growing up and why this experience happened. And this is not to cast blame or responsibility outside of myself, but this is also being realistic and seeing what was the environment because environment plays a huge factor. So yeah, so like I said, I'm not saying this to cast blame or project like responsibility outside of myself, but for me it's important to assess why I was the way I was and why these experiences happened to me because it's very easy to say genetics or this or that, but if I really assess the environment that I lived in, I think that's a key player as to why I was the way I was. Because environment is a huge thing. Even if like even now, if I notice or if I see what kind of people I spend time with, and I'm sure you probably have observed this in your life too, Ball, and many of the
Right.
viewers. Like if
Right.
you spend time with people, you actually end up like you become like them in a way. So
Yeah,
for
there is a
me, it's
saying,
like
right? There is a saying, you become the average of the five people you are surrounded with.
yeah, yeah. So for me, not in that context, but I
Mm-hmm.
mean like if you're not in like a nurturing environment, especially as a kid, that has a
Hmm.
big factor as to that big role as to how you develop even mentally as you grow up. So for me,
Right.
that was a key thing that I yeah.
Yeah, family plays a vital role. Yeah, I absolutely agree with you because especially like being in Indian culture, Indian family, like we have a family system who basically comes together for every single thing you need. Basically, when a kid is growing up, during that upbringing, it plays a major vital role because this is not the case in the West. I primarily believe in this because while the upbringing, the kid is going through so much, turbulence, and then one thing is there is less physical touch. Most of the time, we are putting the kids in the stroller, and then we are, moving all around. We're not even touching the kid, which is not the case, by the way, in our Indian civilization. Here, everybody will be, somebody will come and poke you. You have family members, you have grandparents, relatives, so much touch, So by the time the kid is about to teen or something, he or she has gone through so much, what do you call the physical touch, which is really really necessary. Otherwise, the person becomes really obsessed because whatever experience happens in that person's life after teen or when they become youth or adult, so they become really obsessed, and you will see the body based needs, body based relationships are too higher in the Western societies as compared to, as opposed to the like Asian societies. Like you go to Japan, India, China, you'll see very less. Today the scenario is different because it's polarization and Western philosophies are coming in. Like it's different, but I'm talking about the ancient time. This was the philosophy way the societies were built up. So you said really well that family and the ambience you are, it plays a really really crucial role into your nurturing. And I can really relate with this because I have seen many people, those who went through such kind of scenarios, which was really unfortunate. And I think being elders, or maybe like being an elder, or maybe being a parents, we should take care of this thing because at the end of the day, it's not how much time we are spending; it's about the how quality time we are spending with our loved one, with our offspring. Are we giving best amount of time to them? So kind of a building the relationship, right? Because eventually they are going to follow us, even though we don't want that, but they will follow us. They will try to pick it up, whatever good or bad thing we have, no matter what we do, right?
Absolutely, man. Yeah. I think it's I was having a conversation today with somebody about this as well. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, it's not about what you're saying, it's about like especially as kids, we tend to pick up the way of being that our parents have and we pick up how they're actually showing up as opposed to what they're saying. So I think it's important to have that like integrity piece of because parents think they have some authority just because they're the parents of the child, but they don't actually see that you actually have to live what you're saying, not just say it, right? I think that's a big thing.
Yeah, absolutely right. I 100% agree with this because it's not about the authority. It's about the having that um, having that, I would say, the pleasure and the opportunity that somebody came through you, so you can uh, show them, or you can probably, instead of showing, you can create such kind of environment for them. So in that environment, the kid will grow in a such a way that you don't even have to teach them, okay, don't do this, don't do that. You don't have to tell, they will pick it up because at the end of the day they're
Right.
observing it, right? They're the observer. They observe you up to at least 12, 13 years of age, I guess. And then they realized, then it's just like out of your hand. So it's up to those initial years, how what kind of cocoon you have made. And of course, the manifestation will happen afterwards when the kid is getting into, youth or becoming an adult. Anyways, so that was really fascinating. You touched that dimension. I also would like to know, when do you realize that the traditional treatment, like which usually we go to the psychiatrist, we take medication. When you realize the traditional method is not working for me, and then you came up to, I think, Sadhguru.
How I found something, is that what you're saying? Is that the
Yeah, yeah.
question? Yeah, so I found him just on YouTube when I was maybe around like 21, 22.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there I took the inner engineering in 2017, and then 2017 I was on and off meditating, interested in it, watching the videos, but never really made that commitment to do the practice every day, to really invest myself into it. And then 2019 was when I made a commitment in October that I'm gonna maintain these practices, and I'm gonna see what happens for the 48 days. I think that was a mandala. So I did the mandala, and then I seen some changes starting to happen, and then from there I just made the commitment that this is something I'm gonna keep on investing into every day, because I seen the value, and then from there it just took off.
All right.